Hi, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today I'm going to show you a really cool fun fold. And this is one of those fun folds that's, number one, it's easy, but number two, you can dress it up or go simple, whichever you want, and it will totally change the look of your card. Now, I will tell you that today I'm going to use a little different color scheme than my sample, but I think that's going to be neat in the end to be able to show you what the two different colors would look like. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And if you like the products that you see here today, you can order those, and I'll put the link in my blog in the description below. I'll also have the card recipe, the link to that, which will also be on my blog. I will have the link so that you can do that. I do offer a rewards program for people that buy from me, so you'll definitely want to hop over to my blog and check that out. So let's talk about this set that we're going to use for this. We're going to use mostly the flowering tulips. We're only using one stamp, and that's the Just Thinking of You Today that's going to go here. And we're going to use several of the coordinating tulip dies. And I'll show you those as we go through them to build our 3D tulips on here. And then the only other die that we're using, Painted Poppies, there's a coordinating die set, painted label dies. And we are going to be using this piece from that out of Basic White, because that's going to give us our background for our floral arrangement. So you will need that out of the Basic White. Let's talk about the card components. So we're going to start with a piece of Highland Heather, and this is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. We're going to need a piece of Basic White for the inside that is 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to need a piece of Gorgeous Grape that is 5 1/4 by 4. And then Designer Series paper that is 5 1/4 by 4. And we'll cut this together. Let me say this about the Designer Series paper that matches this tulip, the flowering tulip set. It is no longer going to be available after May 2nd, and it's only available while supplies last. And I didn't check it today to see if it's still available. But if you like this Designer Series paper, you might want to go order a pack or two, because it isn't not going to be carried over to the new catalog. The Designer Series paper most of the time is not, and this will not be in the new catalog. The stamp set and die set will be, but the Designer Series paper, the Tulip Designer Series paper, will not be. So just a heads up with that. Let's talk about the die cuts, because that's really the intricate part of this whole deal. The actual collar fold is easy. The more difficult part is putting together our floral arrangement. So let's talk about that in the dies. In the die set, you have two different stems. One's a longer stem and one's a shorter stem. I'm using the shorter one, and you're going to need 3 of those. So I just cut 3 out of Garden Green, I believe is what this is, Garden Green. Just 3 of the stems. And then we're going to use 2 leaves, and I used this shorter, smaller leaf. There's a larger leaf as well, but we're just going to use the 2 shorter ones. So I've got 2 of those that die cut already. And then because we're using on the example card, I used Blushing Bride, Poppy Parade, and Petal Pink and Basic White for my flowers. But because we're going in the purples, I changed that up a little bit. Let me go through these for each flower to show you what you'll need. So let's start with the little bud. And for that, you're going to use, I cut mine out of Highland Heather. This is going to be, it's kind of got like I call it like a kidney shape, and then a real small piece on the other side. And then I'm using, for the center of all mine, I'm using Basic White. And this piece is, this die right here. So those are the two that you're going to need to make this little bud. Let's talk about the medium-sized flower next. So I cut the outside piece, I cut out a Gorgeous Grape, and that is this piece here. And then the next, there's three pieces, three components. The next piece is this piece here, and I cut it out of Highland Heather. I don't really know what to call that piece. And then it's just the middle piece of the flower. And then again, for the center, the bud, I did Basic White. Then there's one more, the larger flower, and I did it again, the outside piece out of Gorgeous Grape. But this time I did this middle piece out of Basic White. And the bud that we're going to use is going to be, I said I had them all three out of Basic White, and I did not. This one, the bud that I used is out of the Highland Heather. So here's the piece that we're going to use. Okay, so let's move all this out of the way, and let's get started putting the card together. Okay, I'm going to bring in my card base, and we're just going to go ahead and put our Basic White piece. Now, we're not going to do any decorating on it today, but you definitely could. Let me show you the sample card. So in this set, there is a stamp that looks like these little X's, and I just, in the Poppy Parade and the Petal Pink, I just did some X's across the top and the bottom just to give it a design. You could definitely do that, or you could stamp whatever you want on the inside. So I'm just going to come in with some Stampin' Seal. And we're just going to put this on the inside of our card. Just like that. Now we're ready to work on the outside. So our our Gorgeous Grape and our Designer Series paper are the exact same size, but we need to do some cutting on this. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and remember this piece is 5 1/4 tall. So on that long side, we want to go to the middle, which would be 2 5/8. So let me get to 2 5/8. I'm going to bring this down so I know that it's in the camera. And we want to put our blade, I'm holding this, the guide up with my thumb, and I want to put my blade right at the 2-inch mark. And then I'm just going to let this fall down and slice up. That's going to give us a cut in the middle both ways. It's going to go to the middle this way, and it's also going to be in the middle of our long side. And that's really the only cut that we need to make. So I'm just going to bring in a ruler. You don't have to use a ruler for this, but it can help you get this fold in here if you want to do it this way. So I'm just putting this in the corner, and I'm going to where the cut is. And I'm just bending this up. That just gives me an idea where my fold's going to be. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just getting it started with the ruler. So I'm putting it to the corner, and then I'm going to where our cut is. And I'm just bending it up. That just gives me a guide for doing my fold. Okay? So then I'm just going to come in, and I'm just going to make that fold. And I'm going to come in with my bone folder and just go over that. Okay. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with the top, just where we've already creased it. I'm just going to come in and give that a crease. So that's all there is to our fun fold. That's got us set up and got our fun fold where we need it. And the reason it's called a collar fun fold is it looks like a collar. If you hold it like this, it looks like a dress collar, a shirt collar. And then we want to put this on here. And you can see, we see the back side of the paper as well as the front, and then we have our card stuck underneath. So I'm just going to come in with a little bit of liquid glue. And I'm just going to line this up on the sides and lay that down just like that. Now all we have to do is put this on our front panel, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put some liquid glue on this. And I'm just going to center that up. Just like that, and press that down. Now this is where we're going to be stamping our sentiment. And I'm just putting this on here for a guide. Now what I did is I went ahead and put this piece down next so that I could know where to stamp. And then we'll build our flowers. Now you could have done all this before you glued it together. It's totally your call how you want to do it. It might be easier stamping to do it that way, but either one will work. Okay, so I'm just going to just kind of center this. Now I did not pop this up on dimensionals because we're going to have a lot of dimension with our flowers. So now I'm just going to bring in my greeting, just thinking of you, and this is just going to fit right in there. So let me bring my black memento, and I'm going to bring in my foam mat. I'm going to ink this up. Make sure I got plenty of ink on there, and we're just going to line this up. Just holding it there for a minute, letting the ink sink in, and there we go. So we've got our greeting put on there. Now let's start building our flowers. I put the flowers together and then put them on the stem and then put them on the card because that helped me with placement. So let's start with the smallest flower. So these pieces are scored so that they will fold easily. And this piece is going to go on the inside. Here's where you get a little bit of, you get to use your creativity because there's a couple different things you could do when you're putting these together. I like the inside bud to stick up a little bit. You wouldn't have to. You could put it higher or lower. The other thing that you could do is you can either glue these down to where it's flatter, or you can take your bone folder and you can either give them some, like you could fold them out. You could go like this and have that piece kind of flopping out a little bit, if that makes sense. Just kind of curl it. Or you could curl it going the other way. You could curl it going in. So let me show you. So if I just run this around this, just at that top edge, just a little bit, that's going to fold in. I could easily do it the other way. And you don't want to do a whole lot, just a touch. And it's going to fold out a little bit. I tend to like it folded out just a little bit. But it's totally your creativity, your card, you get to decide, okay? So I'm just going to glue this piece in. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of the bud. And I'm just going to glue this in. And again, I like mine to stick up just a little bit. That looks pretty good to me. And then I'm just going to glue this, and I just glue at the bottom of it so that the top it can kind of flap a little, so that it's not totally glued down on top of that. And I'm just going to hold that, and you can see it just depends on how much you want that to lift off of there, how much you curl it. So I'm just holding that for a moment, and then we're going to put that down. Next, we're going to go ahead and build the next size flower, which is this one. Again, we're going to fold it on the score lines, and that's going to give us our base of the flower. Then we're going to use the basic white for the insert, the medium insert. And then we're going to come in with the Highland Heather bud that's going to be going behind it there, just like that. And that's going to make our little flower. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to put my bud in there. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of the bud. Glue that down. Now I'm going to add the basic white piece. And I like to close it and just kind of manipulate it a little bit to get it situated how you want it. There's all different angles you could put it at depending on how you want your flower to look. So I think I want it a little more over this way. And I just keep playing with it till I get it where I want it. Or until the glue dries, because then you're stuck. And I like it like that. Okay, and again, the same thing. I could take my bone folder and curl this just a tad. And I am just doing it just a tad. I don't want it to curl too much. And then I'm just going to glue those shut, and just at the bottom. I'm going to fold that over and fold that over. I'm just going to hold those for a moment. Okay, that's our second flower. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold this one on the score line. Now for this one, we're using the Highland Heather middle piece. And then we have the basic white inside piece. Okay, so I'm going to start with putting the petal on it. And this one I'm just going to show you that you could, instead of gluing this into the base, you could just glue it on the back of this piece first and then glue both of those in. It really is just up to you how you want to do it. It all accomplishes the same. Okay, so now I've got those two together. Now I just want to glue this in just like that. And again, you could do some curling on there if you wanted. You can almost even do a little bit of it with your fingers without even using your bone folder. You don't want a definite crease in it. You just want a little bit of a lift. At least I like a little bit of a lift on it. Okay, so I'm just going to glue this in. I'm just going to close it and see if I like it. I just want to tilt it just a little bit. And there we go. So now we're ready to just glue this shut. I'm just putting a little bit of glue down here at the bottom on both pieces. And then I'm just going to fold this over. And there we have all three of our tulips made. Okay, now we're ready to start putting the stems on. So I'm just going to bring the 3 stems in. And you can see the top part of the stem has a little square head to it and the bottom is rounded. So this little square part is where I'm going to attach my flowers. And I'm just putting a little bit of glue on the end. And then I'm just going to set my flower on top of that. Okay, so let's bring our card base in. And we're going to lay these on here and figure out where we want them to go. So I'm going to do something like that. You could put them as close together, as spread out. I want mine to look a little bit like a bouquet. So I'm going to do it like this. So that tells me about where I need to trim my stems, because I don't want them sticking out like that. So what I did is I placed my first one down. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut a little bit off of this one. Just cutting some of that off. And I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the back of my flower and just a little bit down the stem. And I'm going to get my first one set. And now I can measure what I want to do with my second one And I'm just going to stick my scissors under here. We're going to cover up these cut edges, so you don't need to worry about that. So then I'm just going to glue this one down. Just like that. And then we're going to put the little bud right in the middle. And I'm going to bring it down just a little bit further than the other two. So then we're just going to put some glue on it. Just like that. And then we're going to come in with our leaves. And our leaves are going to cover our stems. So we're going to have one leaf going off to the right and one leaf going off to the left. And we're just going to put those like that. And you can angle those however you want. So I'm just going to come in with some glue. The Designer Series paper has some of the soft succulent green in the paper, so my bow is going to be soft succulent. And I've got a double bow that I've already got made up. So here's my double bow. And it's going to go right down here on the stem. So it's just going to lay right down here. And I like to use glue dots for this. So I'm going to bring in my glue dots. Find where my glue dots start. And I like to stick it down first, and then I can always stick additional glue dots underneath if I need to. So I've got one glue dot behind the knot on my bow. So I'm just pressing that down. And then if I need additional glue dots, if I think I need additional to hold it in place where I want it, then I just come in with my Take Your Pick tool. And I can just lift this up and add it under there to help it stay down if I need to. And I'm going to put one over on the other side as well to hold this really good in the mail. So I'm just adding this just under this side over here. Okay, and the only thing left to do is add some of the Pearl Basic Jewels, and I just added one up here, and I think I'm going to go off of the white and put it in the flowers, and then I used two of the smaller ones. I'm going to put one over here. I had both at the same time. And then I'm going to put another one over here. And so there we have our card. The only thing left to do is fold it like that. And our fun fold is finished. We have the collar fun fold. Again, as I said at the beginning, you can do these as, you can dress them up as much as you want depending on how you decorate the front. I'm just going to come in with my bone folder and give this crease on the side an extra crease to help it lay down. And there you have it. Let me bring in the one that I started with. So there you have two different color schemes that give your card a different look. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you'll give this fun fold a try. Play around with your designer series paper, see what you can come up with. And I hope to craft with you again soon.